that this is going to be a collaboration discussion between what you want to know and the information they have. You'll hear from them. They'll talk about what they've been doing, but then we want to turn it over to you to kind of, you can pick their brain and see where you can be next year. Maybe you'll be up here talking about how you got your job. So I'm the moderator. I've been doing this for about probably 3 years of these Dean events. I've been here 5 years. I've been 20 years in technology and almost as long as in education. So let's go ahead and get to our panel. If you can introduce yourself, pretty sure you're going to say what's up here. What was your degree, whether you're graduating or not, and give us a history of whether you did an internship, you did RDP, and tell me what your favorite class was and your least favorite class.
My name is Kimora Coulson. I am a senior this year and I graduated in April. I currently work at Blue Cross, and I did an internship with them to start with last summer, and then we ended up hiring me full-time in November, and from there I just kind of explored with them, and I work as a security operations center analysis, and I really like it. The best class I had, I don't know. I really like my SOC class just because it's basically what I'm doing for work right now. My least favorite class, it wouldn't be anything in IT or like at all.
Safe answer. You don't need to mention any faculty names, yeah. Just the class.
Maybe just English, but but I love my cybersecurity classes and my IT classes.
Hello, my name is Victoria Corona. Everyone just calls me Tori around here. I am in the cybersecurity program, and I'm a senior here at GCU. And last summer, I got an internship with Charles Schwab in their cybersecurity realm. So from there, I was working with different RPAs, robotic process automations, basically making software robots for them within their identity access management realm. And after it ended in August, I received an offer for a full-time position upon graduation. So right now I just work part-time at Amazon with the physical robots there. So it's cool, I get best of both worlds when it comes to robots. But other than that, my favorite class, all of them are pretty cool. I think malware analysis for those in cyber is pretty awesome. You learn a lot and it's very, very hands-on. And probably the capstone also, just because you get to bring your own ideas up to the platform and then you get to present it to the end. And my least favorite class, probably assembly language for those in cyber. You know what 210 is. It was good. It was just really challenging at first, just because I've never seen anything like it. So just understanding that low-level programming was kind of, I had to work for it, but.
Awesome. All right, so my name is Melanie, and I'm studying software development with a minor in cybersecurity. And sophomore year, that summer, I got my first internship at Cox Automotive as a software engineer. And Cox Automotive is like Cox Cable, but one of their sister companies. So like if you go to buy a car, they use their software. And so I worked on DealerTrack, and I worked on back-end APIs and some CI/CD, and I did that for 2 summers, so sophomore and junior year. And then during the school year, at the end of sophomore year and the end of junior year and the beginning of senior year, I worked at Little Bird as a student software developer alongside Logan and Jack. And then I got my full-time job at this company called Triumph Tech, and they're up in Sun City, and they make this product called Rock, which is a church management system. And I work there now part-time, and I'm transitioning to full-time when I graduate. And my favorite class was probably C#3, don't remember the course code, but I do a lot of ASP.NET. It's what I currently do at work and what I did during my past 2 internships. So I think that probably prepared me the most just for like outside of college, like programming outside of college. And my least favorite class is a class I'm currently in, psychology. So, you know, gen eds.
All right, I'm Blake. I'm a junior computer science major here. I'm doing my internship at Google. It's also a work study, so I'll be working there after my completion. Not really much went into it, just a lot went into it. It's just, I didn't do an internship before that. This will be my first one. My least favorite class has to be bio. So bad at bio. And then my favorite class would probably be the VR class RT teaches, 320 or something like that.
Okay, so that's a little background. Let's we'll open up the questions in a moment, but I want to just go one more time through here and tell me how you found one of your jobs, whether it's your internship or your full-time job or whatever it was. How did you find that? Was it just a blind, you filled out a form and you answered it, or did you know someone? Tell us that process.
So for me, for Blue Cross Blue Shield, I basically went through LinkedIn. I did a lot of work applying for different jobs and everything. One thing I can say for sure is don't give up just because you get denied once or twice. I promise you there is going to be a job out there for you. And I've learned, not to say the hard way, but it took a lot of time for me to find the job I really feel comfortable with and connect with the managers as well. But that's how I found mine.
So for me, I think it was just prime time when people were putting job applications out and I was throwing them in. So I got pretty lucky. But for mine wasn't on LinkedIn, it was just cold Google, just cybersecurity internships, Phoenix, Arizona, anywhere, remote, just throwing it all out there. And then Schwab came up and they were looking for specifically someone in Phoenix at their South Mountain location. So I'm like, perfect, let me try. And then it wasn't like apply and wait. It was just kind of being consistent. Like, hey, it's been a week. Can you let me know what the process looks like, how long it's going to take, and just kind of not being annoying, but being like, hey, I'm here and I want a job. So for me, it was a cold interview. I didn't really know anyone, but just constantly using LinkedIn, Google, all of the online platforms that put those jobs out there.
So sophomore year, I was desperate. I wanted to get an internship so badly, and it was COVID, so I knew I had to get a remote one. And so I applied to literally any job that I kind of fit a description of, and I probably just applied for 150 jobs, and I got probably denied 150 times. But I heard back from one company, and it was Coulson Automotive, and I got the screening and then the interview, and it was the first real technical interview I've ever done in my life, and I was so nervous. And I don't think I even did that good of a job, but they took a chance on me and they hired me. And so I think that was just a really good lesson in just persistence. You do have to keep applying even though you get denied. Because you get denied 150 times, but you get one letter that says yes. And all you need is one, and then you get your foot in the door. So really exciting.
I went to any internship I thought I would want. I found someone in their program and I cold messaged them. I probably sent out 40 to 50 cold messages, and I got people to refer me in the companies, and that's essentially, I knew a couple people at Google just through my parents' connections, so that's a big part of why I got that one, but cold message so many people just going through Google, just I want to apply here, let's go find someone that works there on LinkedIn.
So cold messaging, you're talking through LinkedIn, you send a message. So you said, how many you sent out and how many actually replied back?
So I probably sent out 40 to 50, and I probably got about 20 to 30 back. But I learned people actually really do want help because they've all been in the same boat.
That's actually a really good percentage. I usually tell students you send out 20, you'll get about 4 back. So maybe it's your profile. Okay, so one more pass through here. Tell us what that interview process was like, because you all have either an intern or a job. How many rounds of interview? Was it technical? Was it friendly? Was it combative? I mean, did they really challenge you? Were you scared? Walk through that process.
So for my interview, basically they asked what projects, since they know I'm still in school, they asked me what projects I've done, and I explained a little bit of that. And then they asked a couple of technical questions, not too much, honestly, but it was more of they wanted to get to know you. You're going to have different type of interviews. Some are going to be technical, some may not. Some probably just want to actually get to know you, your personality and everything, and want to see how you are with communicating and talking with them as well. And they also want to see your extracurriculum as well, which is really good to have. One thing that stood out for my manager is that I'm a multitasker, so I was able to juggle soccer, working 2 jobs, and then also being in school. So that stood out for her. And then, honestly, for my interview, I had 2 interviews. I had one with HR and then one with the direct manager. Sometimes you don't always have it with the direct manager, but it's really nice when you can actually connect with them.
So my total interviews for Schwab was 6. Yikers. For the internship, I went through 3 rounds, and then after the completion of the internship, I went through another 3 rounds. And the first 3 rounds, or of the 6, 4 of them were soft skills, just getting to know you. And I will say that from my experience, technical skills are easier to teach than soft skills. You really have to know how to make that connection and be personable and showing the willingness you want to learn and just being friendly. So the first two, it's all about, what are you doing? What projects are you working on? Like getting to know your personality. And then the last round was pretty technical, just from a cyber perspective. It wasn't like writing a code. And then after the completion of my internship, it was another soft skills with different directors at Schwab, just within the cyber realm again. And then the last one was a presentation of my proposal from the 9-week project that I was working on, how it'll get implemented, and then how I see it in the future. Just the elasticity, how it could grow, how it could change, how it can adapt. And then after that, they were like, cool, you can come back. And I was like, okay.
For my internship at Cox, it was 2 interviews. So it was one initial screening, which doesn't really count, and then it was an initial meeting with your manager, with the manager of the team, and then the third interview was with all your teammates, and it was an hour and 40 minutes. And I remember I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be in this interview for 2 hours. And so the first hour was all technical programming questions. They had to do programming in Google Doc, which I thought was a thing people made up, but it is actually true. People do that in interviews. And then the other one was all behavioral. So the back hour was all behavioral questions about me and who I was, and then just my background. And they were with 2 different people, 2 different teams. So that was kind of that. And then for Triumph and Little Bit, they were both just I met them at career fairs, and then I just had one interview with the manager, and we just kind of talked about my background, some technical skills, and just kind of willingness to learn languages I knew. So a little bit more basic there.
So Google, I had 6 interviews. My first one was just kind of screening with the recruiter. It was kind of weird. My recruiter did get laid off. So that kind of set back my process a little bit. But I got through there. Then you go into what's called, they're testing you for Googliness. So it's how you work with other teams, how you think. So not so much code or what you know, just very much how you think, how you approach a problem. They don't expect you to get the right one. They just want to know how you would approach it. And then we got into the technical work, which was really challenging. My first one was coding. So my focus on ML and AI, so a lot of Python coding. And then math. And then I met with teams and different managers, and then one big panel interview, which really sucked. But it was a mix of everything. See who you are, see what you know, and then finally, more one-on-ones with each one. But yeah, it was great.
So I can say when we talk to the people that are going to be hiring you, the part that you're hearing up here is a lot of it is soft skills. I mean, you are going to go into a technical field. You're going to have a technical component. But a lot of what they're going to ask you for, because you are graduating with a degree, they want to know, are you going to fit with that? So we can't teach that. I think we do a really good job of putting you on teams and putting you in opportunities to collaborate. So take advantage of that. Don't think that that's a waste of these classes. Think of that as a practice realm for when you go interview, and those are going to be the answers they're looking for beyond whether you can code or hack or whatever you're going to need to do from that perspective. Okay, so what questions do you have up here? What kind of questions do you have for people that have gone through what you want to go through at some point? Yes.
Is your position at Google in Silicon Valley?
So my position is a remote position, but they're sending me to a lot of their locations. So about 3 weeks after the end of the semester, I'll be in Silicon Valley for a week. I'll go back home, and then I'll go to New York, Florida, Texas, Colorado, and then back home.
So for all of you, where's your internship or your job remote, hybrid, or in person?
For mine, mine is remote. We're allowed to go in the office whenever we would like as well, but honestly, no one's there. So it's really no point because you're just going to be there by yourself. But our offices are really nice. We go in there every 3 months though, which is mandatory, and then just to connect with people because a lot of them haven't seen each other in 2 years because of COVID, so they're kind of strangers to each other. So it's really nice to go and just commute and talk to everyone and get to know each other from different perspectives.
My internship was supposed to be in person, and the majority of the time I was there, but I got COVID. So they sent me home and said, come back when you feel better. And so I would say 50% of my internship was at home, and then because it was 2.5 months long, and then 50% in office. And then for my full-time position, I got to choose what I wanted to do, whether I wanted to do like bridged work, half home, half at work. But I chose 90 to 100% at home. So I'll go in when I want to, but majority of the time I'll be staying home.
My internship the first summer at Cox was completely remote since COVID. And then the second summer, I got to go into the office like twice, which is kind of fun. And then Little Bird was fully in person, Canyon Ventures, and then Triumph is fully in person as well up in Sun City. So I can get 2 months of it.
Yeah, I think part of that interview process for you to vet the company you're talking to too. I mean, technology is kind of renowned for you going and you kind of job hopping from job to job. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but you got to get your foot in the door in a technology role, and sometimes maybe you would wear that. I know people that work at Sand Hill and they like it. I think Professor Ray, how you said you had some people that are working at Sand Hill also. So it's a great company. I think sometimes just that the dress code can be a little bit of an issue. So was there anything surprising that you found out about the company after you completed your internship? Like I know you haven't done one yet, so either you can maybe guess what might be kind of surprising about it, but the rest of you, was there something surprising you found while you were working for that company?
What I found surprising, just the how everyone connects with each other. Some people are willing to work with others on a team. Some people aren't really. I've never had I hear experiences with bad managers and things like that, but I've never had a bad manager. And the manager I have right now as well is really open, and you can pretty much, if you need to go run an errand or something during work, whatever, they are pretty lenient with that. They're not micromanagers or anything, which I found, which is really cool. I thought a lot of people were just gonna be like that. I don't know why, just from what people tell me. Also, we don't have a dress code. It's pretty nice. Our boss was like, no, I like wearing my leggings to work, so you guys don't have to dress up. I came in a whole outfit for my first day of my internship, and she was like, no. But everything else, pretty nice. I didn't realize how many benefits you do get working with the healthcare. Everything else is pretty good.
I kind of had the same experience. I walked in day one and I was looking cute, wearing some heels and stuff, ready, dressed to impress, right? That's what they tell you, dress to impress. And I walk in and I was like, okay, jeans and t-shirts from here on out. And my manager was like, listen, we're not client facing. We just they put us in the very back, cyber people, they just give sign of life and then we're good. So the other, surprising thing is how connected the entire company is. I was sitting at my desk and the CISO literally walks in. It's like, hey, let's go get lunch. And I'm like, oh, hi, you know who I am? Perfect. So it's cool. The directors, all the higher people, they just want to help as well. You think they're just big honchos who are just ready to tell you what to do. But in reality, from the top down, everyone is just willing to help. So I thought that was really awesome.
The most surprising thing for my internship at Cox was I did it at 2 summers on the same team, and the dynamics were a little different. So the first summer, we did it, it was fully remote, but we never had meetings, ever. And then the second summer I come back, same team, and we had meetings all the time. So because we got a new Scrum Master. So I think it really just shows that the same company, the same people you're working with, one change in kind of the dynamic can really change how your team functions in the same company. So I thought that was kind of an interesting observation and something that was unexpected going into that second summer when I went, oh my gosh, I have 5 meetings on my calendar. I had 5 meetings all summer last time. And then at Triumph, yeah, same thing with you guys, dress codes. Triumph gave me 3 shirts that I do wear on rotation. So this is what I wear to work, every day. It's a good time.
Well, I haven't done my internship. So what I have found most surprising so far is how closely monitored I am by them. The amount of NDAs I've had to sign, and I can't really publicly talk about what I do. So it's very tight-lipped, and everything I do, I have to get approved by their legal team, and it's really annoying.
Okay, what questions do you have? I'll turn it back to you guys. Anybody? Yeah.
What questions do you ask in an interview about their company, or what advice do you have for us to turn the interview back on for them?
That's a great question. So the question, I don't know if we're recording or not, but we'll go ahead and say, when you interview, it is a two-way conversation, and I would encourage everyone to have a question to ask back. So the question from the audience is, what question did you ask, or how did you turn the table in the interview to get the person interviewing you talking?
So for me, what we did, I found out after, so we had someone that sat in our meeting when me and my manager were talking, and we kind of laughed a lot. So they were like, you gotta calm down on that when you have your meetings. But I basically asked, like she'll ask me about my background and everything, and I'll ask questions like what steps did you take to get here? Is there any advice you could give me, or just different things I wanted to learn about her as well, so I know I like the company, not just, oh, does she like me? No, I want to make sure I feel comfortable, because I did have some interviews where I was like, this manager's not really the person I want to fit in with. They were kind of quiet, or they were not really open to really talk. It was just not for me, but I fell in love with this company for sure, just based off of her, talking to her and everything.
So I think whenever you get called back for an interview, it's really important to do your research on the company. Like, don't go in cold, because they're going to ask you, why did you choose us? Because they want to know, and they want to know why you want to work for them. And so with Schwab, I got, for the second soft skills interview, just doing research on their company. And so at the end, I asked, what is your favorite thing about the company? Because HR people are awesome. They are so bubbly, their personalities, they're willing to talk all day if they can. And so really to get their perspective on it. And so I asked, what are some characteristics that you see, pretty common characteristics that you see within the people that work here at this company, what your company represents, and pulling something from the About Us page and be like, I saw that Schwab, slogan is Own Your Tomorrow. How does the cyber realm push that, even though we are not client facing? So just really researching the company that you're interviewing with, and then coming up with some specific questions about their realm.
Yeah, like they said, it's all about the research, it's all about being specific. And the best thing I think I ever learned was, when you're interviewing the company, this one recruiter told me this. She's like, you can talk about the job description, you can talk about why you love the company, but what you need to talk about in your questions too is why this company, what is so distinct about them. And so when you're in an interview with the manager, you can turn it back on them, because they will ask you why, and you say, well, why are you working here? You want to know why I want to work here, why do you even work here? So I think that's most important. And if they don't have a good answer, then you're like, well, then why am I working here? I mean, you can't tell me. I can't tell you. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, very much along the same lines. I usually ask what company culture is like, what it's like working here, what's the work-life balance, just really get a feel for culture. And then every once in a while, what do you do? What's your day-to-day look like?
Go ahead.
So when I meet past graduates, one question I always ask is, what didn't I teach you? You don't have to name your professors. Is there something you've learned already that GCU could have done better preparing you for the workforce, or something you go, wow, we should have taught, I should have learned this skill?
So I want to summarize for the recording, so I don't think I'll caught that one. I'm going to concise that down for those that are online. So what didn't GCU teach you that you wish it was taught, or one skill you wish you would have got while you were here at GCU?
For me, probably just more in depth in different coding languages. Also.
So wait, so it's your cyber, right? And you're saying coding languages.
Yeah, IT and cyber.
Okay, so do you have any coding languages?
Well, I had the basics, but it's would be really helpful just to learn more in depth with it.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Just for some technical questions I would ask. Everything what I've learned here pretty much were the technical questions, and it was all spot on. So there's nothing in the interview that I would change, because even if you get into the work field, you start working at your career, they're gonna train you. They're gonna make sure you know what you're doing, and they're gonna help you. So I think it's a good start from everything that's coming from Grand Canyon. There's nothing too much. Just honestly, it's getting us really prepared for the workforce.
I don't really know. I would say that coming into the program, my knowledge of cybersecurity was just surrounded SOC stuff. in Security Operations Center, just seeing that blue team, red team, purple team, black hat, white hat, whatever. And then when you get into your internship or true work experience, you realize how big the cyber realm is. So, I mean, you can be on a cyber team and not even be in the SOC and not even touch that stuff. So I think, if anything, just maybe a course that's dedicated to something not SOC related. I think that would be I'm within identity and access management, so maybe, I mean, I work with RPs all the time, or like, maybe something without that focus, but I'm not really sure. I really like my time here, so I want to be here.
I mean, obviously you go on and there's like 100 technical things because you can't teach every technical thing. But I think outside of that, I think the most important thing that GCU teaches are two things. One of them is pace. And just knowing that like at GCU when you're in class, you get 15 weeks to learn a language. But when you're on the job, you get like 2 days to learn a language. When I was studying at Cox, there was an Angular project. And unfortunately, I had to take my Angular class here. But they're like, oh, Melanie, you want to jump on it? And I'm like, sure. They're like, great. And then you're contributing in like 2 days, and they expect you to know it in like a day. So it's just like being able to learn quickly. And so that's just something you teach yourself, like how you learn best. And so I think it's unlocking that skill. And the other one is organization. You can be organized in your classes, but when you're in a meeting with like your whole team and there's like 5 different topics going on and you're expected to have notes on all of them, and then they ask you, oh, Melanie, what do you think about this? And you have nothing because you weren't taking notes well. Like that looks really bad. So I think it's just making sure that you are taking notes, you have your own system, and you are really like good at using that system. And once you have one, you like build upon it. With just every project, you're taking notes on it. Every task you have, if you're doing agile, you're taking notes on it. You just always, every meeting you're in, you're taking notes. So I think that's really important.
I'd have to say for me, I think my CS professors do a really good job of teaching me what I need to know. But there is still a lot of outside work and like reading to really like get a strong understanding of what it is. Like they lay the foundation, but if you really want to be successful, you have to go learn on your own and figure it out.
So I will say, when I talk to the CST 105 or the entry level classes, I tell them that one of the most important things you can do is demonstrate passion. And that's exactly what Blake just said. Doing stuff not because you're told or because you're going to get a grade, but because you want to learn. When you go and interview and you can say, I did this. So that's why RDP, which is your opportunity to pick something that's interesting to you and go explore it on your own outside a classroom, but you have a faculty mentor. You don't get a grade, doesn't cost anything. Those things resonate with the hiring managers because there's no rubric that says how you know you're successful. It's because you wanted to do it and you did it on your own and you did it outside the classroom. So find your passion or find your purpose, if we're using the GCU model, and do it not because we're told to do it, but because you want to do it. Okay, who's got another question for our panel up here?
What kind of certificates do you guys have?
Are you talking like certification, like more from a security perspective or cybersecurity perspective? Did any of you do anything outside the classroom that got you a certification? Did you complete a online course that was not part of it? Kind of going back to that passion thing. So did you do anything like that?
I did JavaScripting a little bit. I took 2 courses for it and got like certificates for it and everything. I was gonna wait until after I finished college to do certifications, just because my job would pay for it, so it helped a lot. But other than that, no. But I wish I did Security Plus for sure, though.
So during my internship, my company really pushed LinkedIn Learning. And if you go to my profile, I have like a bunch of recent certs just because they're not telling you to do it. I mean, and it's just a lot of learning that you can learn on your own, even if it's just a brief, and just reviewing stuff. So I just do that in my downtime. And then as far as certifications, I'm studying for my Security Plus right now. Those in cyber, you will learn a lot. Concerning or surrounding the Security Plus, I would say at the end of the program, you'll have 80 to 90 possibly % of the knowledge to take that certification with confidence. So I am projected to take it in May. So I don't have any answer.
So it's a little bit different on the software side than it really is in like IT. The certifications are nearly as pushed. But when I was in high school, my senior year, I did like this IT kind of basic class. I took some certifications they like called Microsoft Technology Associate. They're really basic, but I got them. And then outside of that, I mean, I don't have it, but AWS Cloud Practitioner is probably the first one I would get. I was going to go to serve out, but it's definitely a little different.
Yeah, along the same lines, I've done a lot of the LinkedIn learning ones. Just I like to know things. I'm about to start doing the AWS machine learning, and that's my next one. And then over last summer, I did an MIT machine learning certificate.
But for the audience, how many of you have a certification, either like a CompTIA or SANS or anything from the software? Anybody have a certification? Which one do you have?
I'm certified cloud practitioner, AWS.
Oh, okay. How hard was that test?
That was pretty difficult.
Was it really? Okay. So we would love to get that a formal process here at GCU to actually get students to pass that one. That's a good one. Anybody else have a certification? Anybody in the, oh yeah. So, Joe, which ones do you have?
A+, Network Plus, Security Plus, Logarithm. I can keep going.
How many of you in the TSU training? Anybody in the TSU training? That's a pretty unique experience that's going on this spring. And for those that didn't have an opportunity, especially if you're in cyber, I think you kind of missed out. Hopefully we'll continue that one. It started off with 120, and I think it's averaging about 60 now. We went through it, so I guess we don't know. But okay, what's the next question you have for our panel up here? Yes.
How did you guys respond to technical interview questions that you weren't 100% confident?
That's a great question, because if you do have a technical question, sometimes they don't expect you to know the answer. So how do you answer that if you don't know the answer?
So for me, I basically just explained what I've known within the certain question or something. Like say if they ask about subnetting masks, I just explained what I know around it, and then I asked them to, as well, just more in depth of, you explain this. For an example, I do know subnetting masks, but just an example, I'll just ask them so if they can explain it to me. Sometimes it's usually just HR asking me the questions, so they're not going to really know. But they understand usually if you get most of the questions right, they're fine with it. But it's really good to just make sure you like explain it in a way that you know what you're talking about, just even if you don't know the exact answer.
Yeah, I think they kind of throw some at you that they don't expect you to know and just are looking for what you have to say if you're just gonna be like, I don't know. And then just stare at them. And I think for myself, I only got one where I just wasn't really sure about it. And I was honest. I was like, you know what? I don't have the expertise to fully answer this question, but I'm gonna try my best. So just hang in there with me. So I went through it and she was like, you know, you're right about this. And then I would say I would love to learn more about it if you have the time. And then they'll usually give you a brief overview of it, because most of the time when they give you those difficult questions, they're just looking at your response. Like, are you going to shut down and be like, next question, I don't want to answer that? Or are you going to try, and the willingness to accept that you don't know, and then how you're going to move on from that.
Yeah, basically along those lines. I've gotten one recently, but I usually would do it. I go like something along the lines of, unfortunately, I don't know a lot about X, and then if I have a similar technology, but I've used Y before, which I know is similar, and then followed by, I would love to learn more about X. Do you have any recommendations on how I can learn more? And then I often follow up. Usually they'll give a brief explanation, and then I go, oh, that's really cool, that X, and then I repeat the explanation back to them. And that's really essential. Then you just showed that you can learn really fast, because you just learned what they said. And then if they have another question, you just use X. Like, oh, this question, oh, one way to solve that, X, which is this. Because I just learned that. And you clearly like it. Really, just like pro tip.
I kind of just start attacking the problem in any way I can. A lot of what I learned is a lot of time they don't give you everything you need. They expect clarifying questions. I didn't learn that in my first interview, which I should have. But like, I lay out a framework. Like, this is how I would approach it. I just don't know all of the correct syntax. But like, then I ask, like, is this allowed? Like, how would, like, can I do this? Can I do that? And then that kind of really pieces it together. So you get at least something working. And like, at least keep asking questions and kind of knows where to start. Okay, what's the next question we have from the audience?
Come on, you're all gonna be looking for a job at some point. You're just Pat. Here's your chance to. Oh, what?
So, kind of going back towards like the application process for those of you that found success on LinkedIn, what do you think were like the key elements of the profile that really got you the response?
So the question is, what on your LinkedIn profile you think you got? But I'm going to broaden it up and on your resume. So whether it's your resume or LinkedIn, what do you think caught the attention of the person? Because, I mean, some of you said you applied to hundreds of jobs. Some of you might have applied to just a handful. But something had to grab your attention. And actually, one more component to that. Did you have to go through the normal application process, or did you know someone that kind of like put your resume on the top of the pile?
So for LinkedIn, what caught probably their eye is mostly that I've done like I said before, I do a lot of multitasking when it comes throughout the day, and I can handle my time very well. I think they see like an organization in that where they know, hey, I can get her to do A, B, and C, and she will be able to handle all of that at once. Also, just I think in my resume, just me showing that I'm willing to learn different things, and I don't have too much experience, so I can't like show that. But just my willingness to like learn. Trying to think. I think, yeah, maybe that's what caught their eye.
So I didn't apply through LinkedIn, but as far as the resume question, mine, I mean, we all start off with the same amount of experiences that we're looking for experience. We usually just have our college credits if we're volunteering, if we have a job on the side. But I think it's really also important to put some technical skills that you've learned while you're in school, because you did get exposed to those and you do know how to implement and apply those. So I think everything, with every class that I took, when I created my LinkedIn, you can like add those skills really quick. When the professor's like, add this as a skill, this is a great skill to have. You add it to your LinkedIn, and then later on in the day or when you have enough skills, you go to your resume and you add those. And think, how can I do this in a formal manner? And so I think just constantly updating your resume, everything that you've learned, and you can speak for, not just you learned it, because then they're going to ask you about it, and you're like, well. So I think just constantly updating it. And then my resume, and probably everyone else's, it looked pretty basic just because we don't have that experience yet. So I think it's the persistence that is what got me to the top. Is just asking, not once a day, maybe like once a week, hey, it's been blank since I applied, I'm wondering if you guys are still hiring, yada yada. And then that's when I got a connection and started talking more and more to the same talent acquisition representative.
So when I got my job at Cox, obviously I had no like previous experience, but the one thing that she said that looked good on my resume and that she got done on LinkedIn was my grades, because I was a good student. So I think that it's like not something that you really think of, like it counts for like something, but it counts for something a little bit. And then more than that, it was just like being able to articulate the skills that I did get from like my menial jobs, like customer service job. That's not really related to programming at all. But even like the description of your skills from that position, like, oh, like I was a multitasker. That's like something you do. I took good notes. That's something you do in programming. So even though it wasn't even related to programming, it's just being able to utilize the skills you do have and kind of extrapolate from those into your programming jobs. And when you get that first job, obviously you get the experience that you want to have on your resume. But that initial thing, when you don't have anything, it's making something out of like what would be seen as nothing. And I think that's really important.
I'm very much of, I don't put very many skills on my resume or my LinkedIn. I showcase my projects and what I've done. My RDP is like outside of class, home projects. And that's what I've been told is like the biggest inspiration. Like, what am I doing outside of the classroom? They expect everyone that applies to already know how to code, already know the languages. So like, those skills don't really matter to them. It's just, what have you done outside? So like my LinkedIn is just full of, I don't know if it's full. I think there's one on there because I'm really lazy, don't like to update it. Project, and my resume have all the projects I've ever worked on that are cool.
And the projects you do in class can go on your resume as projects. So don't think you don't have to. Don't think you can't include stuff you learn in class, because that is stuff you're learning that will be important when you get those jobs. So we got about 5 minutes. I know we got started a little bit later. So we'll take one more question from the audience, and then we'll kind of give them a chance to give you their final secret sauce for how they got where they did. What's that next question? What's the last question? One last question. Somebody's got it. No? Everybody's shy? You can't be shy when you go interview. Go ahead. say about that? So the question is the cold emailing, or basically for everybody here, after Blake answered it, did you do any outreach trying to get people that are working at a company connected to you? So we'll start with Blake. Work backwards this time.
Essentially, I would go find the job. I would go to LinkedIn. I would type in, or I'd go to Google, interns at Apple, and it would pull up all of their LinkedIn. I click on them. A lot of them are private, and you have to have LinkedIn Premium, which kind of sucks. And I would shamelessly message them. I'd be like, I kept it short and sweet, so it doesn't take a ton of their time to respond, because I don't want to inconvenience them, but I want to start that conversation. And a lot of the times they would respond with, hey, do you have like 10 minutes for a quick call and kind of explain my path and how I got here? And then ultimately at the end, after that conversation, like, if you apply, I'll give you like a recommend or a reference, things like that.
So I never did any like cold calls for jobs, but when I was trying to win the professional like academic career boot camp here for the Honors College at GCU, I reached out to a lot of professionals on LinkedIn because I wanted to have a like 20-minute meeting with them over video. And it's kind of shocking how like many people say yes to that, and just because you're like a college student. So there was this program manager at Disney, and she'd worked there for like 5 years. And I messaged her, and I was just like, hey, would you be willing to hop on a phone call and talk about like professional skills for like 20 minutes? And she did, and we talked for like an hour. So it's just kind of one of those funny things. Like you can kind of meet people anywhere. I met this other girl on a plane. She sat next to me. I gave her a business card. I reached out to her, and we talked for like an hour. She's going to Africa next summer. Kind of a fun tip, but like, you can meet people anywhere is really what it is. So don't be afraid to just talk to the people next to you, because that could be your next job.
I agree with that. I think LinkedIn is super powerful to use, but you can't forget about the in-person skills. Like we have professors here who have plenty of connections. Professor Liz is like, hey, we're hiring 40 people. Go talk to him. So I think LinkedIn is just as powerful as meeting people in person. I mean, as long as your willingness to put your foot out there, because they're not going to know. You have to be willing to go, hey, I'm a college kid. I'm looking for a job. I have this experience. Do you have any information for me, or do you have any advice for me? So I think just being personable and just willing to go out there and get rejected sometimes, but hey, that's all part of the process, right?
Like she did mention, networking is huge, not even just on LinkedIn, but I did Black Hat a couple years ago during the summer, and just meeting different people, and they're all from around the world as well. So it's like just connecting with them, seeing what they do. They'll give you connections to their company. Or some guy told me he worked in the FBI and he wanted to help me connect with them. And I met someone, I think it was during Black Hat, but I contacted him on LinkedIn and we kind of chatted a little bit and tried to help me get a position within his company. It didn't really work out, but he still was like a good reference and a good someone to talk to learn a little bit more about it. I think when I did Black Hat was the first time I kind of started networking and opening up, because before then I was super quiet and didn't talk to anyone at all. It kind of just made me, more confident in what to do. Also, reaching out on LinkedIn helps. Contacting managers or even someone that's way lower as well, contacting them, they might have their own connections as well. So it's really nice.
So I will say that most companies have what's called a hiring bonus or a recruiting bonus. So they make money when they refer you. Now, a lot of them will not refer you if they don't know you to some extent, because obviously their credibility goes on the line. But if you can build a little bit of a connection, I know people at State Farm get $3,000 if they hire somebody that they refer. So there's a financial benefit for them also. The other thing is, GCU's got about 100,000 alumni working across the United States now. So when you're looking for a connection there, look to see who graduated from GCU and do a lopes up in your invitation. I think it'll go a long way to getting you at least some credibility for getting those connections. I don't know if any of you took advantage of it. Your hometown, common groups, if you're part of groups on LinkedIn, all of that stuff makes you a little bit connection. Okay, so I know we started a little bit late. We're right at 12 o'clock. So give us your last little secret sauce for what you want these future teammates maybe to be doing so that they can find a job like you guys all have.
Honestly, it's not too late. Well, there's never too early to start applying for internships. Some people start their senior year. Honestly, start your freshman year, sophomore year. Just get your foot in the door. let them know your name, like networking wise, let them know who you are for sure. I think that helps a lot. Especially if they're like, well, we're not hiring right now, but I'll keep your name in the pile and I'll keep your resume for later, for when we are hiring. Also just being proactive in making sure you're doing other tasks outside of the school, because that shows a lot, especially in your resume, and that shows a lot when you're interviewing as well. They like that more than anything.
I would say never tell yourself no. When it comes to applying, it can be really, really stressful when you're looking at the qualifications and you're like, oh, I have 3 to 5, oh, I have 1 of 30. Like, never tell yourself no. They could see your soft skills and be like, hey, I just want to talk to them. Or they see your resume. So let them go through the process. Never tell yourself no and just reject yourself, because you never know who's open to just getting an entry-level person who wants to learn. And I think with Schwab, when I was going through the application process, I was like, okay, I don't know if I have this, I don't know. And then at the end of the interview, I'm like, what is one thing with the HR, what's one thing that you would advise for me? And they're like, in your interview, you said a lot. It was my very first interview. I was so nervous. And they were like, don't doubt yourself. I mean, put yourself on the pedestal. You are here to shine. And just don't tell yourself no. Just like be willingness and open to learn anything. Like, hey, I don't know this, but I'm willing to learn.
On the similar line, like, don't be afraid to fail. Like, apply to jobs because you can. Like, anyone can apply to that job, and they might say yes. And even if like you get to the job and you like get to like their final round interview and then you don't get that job, you just learn so much about how to apply for a job. You're never not learning on a job. So always apply, and don't be afraid of failure when you apply for a job. Or even more than that, like, don't be afraid of failure when you like reach out to people on LinkedIn and you get rejected like 100 times. So you just can't be afraid of like getting denied, and you can't be afraid of like even in person when you're networking with someone. If someone's like disinterested, like, you just have to keep chugging on to the next person. It's just like there's so many opportunities out there. You can't let like the failed ones hold you back. You got to keep pushing forward.
Yeah, definitely along the same lines. Don't be afraid of those rejection emails. Like, I get a lot of them still. And well, it doesn't matter now, but like even before I got accepted at Google, like it was a little discouraging, but I just had to keep going. Like, it's not the end all be all for one rejection, and it's really like what you do outside of the classroom is, in my opinion, the most important thing. It really shows that drive, that willingness to learn, that ability for hard work, and that's really what I've learned is what people are looking for.
And I'll leave it on one last note. Once you get into your first tech job, the rest will be a lot easier. So you just need that first one and it becomes easier. But with that, we'll kind of wrap it up. Thank you for coming for this panel. I think hopefully you got a lot of good information from people that are in roles that you want to get to. With that, have a good rest of the day.